Hey guys, and welcome to Let's Click Photography, where today we are going to be talking about this, the Canon 24-240 f4 to f6.3 full frame 10 times zoom lens. Full frame 10 times zoom lens. This cannot be serious, right? Some kind of joke. I don't know, but we're certainly going to give it a little test and see exactly what it can do. So let's head out into the great city of Manchester and take some shots using what many would describe as a walk-around lens. Now, of course, this being Manchester, it's pissing down. And whilst Manchester may well be known for first splitting the atom, having the first major railway line, for its textile industry, for the Industrial Revolution, for being one of the most populous regions in Great Britain. Let's face it, most people around the world know it for two things: sports and music. And so today we're going to have a look at some of the sports grounds, including this one, the world famous Old Trafford, home to Manchester United. Let's go and take some shots using this Canon RF 24-240 right here. Well guys, I've just had a pleasant conversation with security who have asked me very nicely not to film. We're on private land. Well, past these barriers here, we're on private land. But Manchester United, Old Trafford, is not the only sports stadium in town. There is another one. It's not quite as famous, it's not quite as well known, and it's not quite as loved. But to keep things fair, let's head over there and take some shots at Manchester's second stadium. And here we are at the other Old Trafford, Emirates Old Trafford, home to Lancashire County Cricket Club. Where else did you think I was going? I'm going to grab a couple of shots, then we'll head back and we'll take a look at the shots in their raw format rather than the processed versions you've been seeing so far. So I'll catch you back at the office. Oh wow, well, that music ended kind of abruptly, didn't it? Something that really shocked me was just how limited f4 actually is on this lens. f4 is only available for you to use in between the focal lengths of 24mm and 27mm, after which you lose the capability of f4 as an aperture. Right, I'm going to have to look at my notes on this, so I apologise for that. So you've got f4, 24-27mm. f4.5 then comes into play, so dropping down a third of a stop of light, and you've got that between 27mm and 44mm. Then from 44mm up to the 70mm mark, you're limited to f5. f5.6 comes into play at 70mm through to 105mm, and after 105mm you're losing that last third of a stop and dropping to 6.3. Build quality is actually pretty good in it. It feels really sturdy. The control ring is nice and smooth and doesn't have that click that you get on other RF lenses. Is the 85mm f2 prime, which is coming up in a future review, and that'll be because the control ring also doubles up as your focus ring, controlled by a little switch just here, so you can't have the control ring and manual focus at the same time. The buttons click into place and they stay in place as well, and you've got a lock switch for when it's in your bag at the 24mm end, although it takes a bit of shake to get it to actually extend. Another thing that is good about this is that the end of the lens doesn't rotate when you extend the lens, so you can see there with that Canon logo, and it's thought through well is that it's one twist to fully extend it. So what's not so great about it? Well, it's not weather sealed, and it's not just not weather sealed. As you extend it like this, there's just crevices, 2 deep crevices here. When I had it out yesterday in that Manchester light rain, it basically sent out party invites for the rain to come and enjoy itself down here, and this was flooded even in that light rain and took about 7 hours to dry out, and that worries me as much with rain as it does with things like sand. So if you are going on sandy beaches and the wind picks up, it does concern me that sand would get into these crevices and cause issues. Autofocus is absolutely brilliant. I mean, it's an RF lens. They have got great autofocus. It can keep up with the high-speed shutter release of the Canon R6 at 20 frames per second. And yeah, the autofocus was just really good, as you expect from the RF lenses. So, image quality. Now, this is a bad thing and it's a good thing. This is why I think I would name this the best worst lens of all time, because out of camera, shooting raw, the images are absolutely terrible. And there's a reason, I think, for that. Canon needed to go out and make a all-in-one lens at a relatively, for RF glass, cheap price, and that meant cutting back on construction costs. And so they put out a lens that was quite inferior, but they found a cheap way to resolve that, which was by using software. So out of camera, when you are shooting raw, don't be dismayed when you see terrible vignetting at the 24mm end of this lens and horrific lens distortion at either end of the lens. If you are shooting JPEG, then you need to make sure that your lens correction and your chromatic aberration controls in camera are switched on, and you'll never see these issues. But if you're shooting raw, you're definitely going to see these issues, but it isn't anything to worry about because Canon have released some really good lens profiles that just remove the problems that there are in this lens. So you can take some of the worst chromatic aberrations, some of the worst vignetting you'll ever see on a Canon lens, and just remove them with a quick click. If you're not using a system that has lens profile corrections, go and get yourself the free copy of Canon DPP and do your processing in there, because you need the lens corrections. So what's my verdict? Well, the reason why I was looking at this lens, and I have it currently, is because I was wondering whether I could take some of the weight off my back when I'm doing landscape photography, have an all-in-one super zoom. That means I could leave my 24-70 and my 70-200 at home. For just regular shoots for YouTubing and stuff, then this would really work for me. Even with those lens corrections, you lose a bit of sharpness in those corners. But it's a super zoom. You are going to expect that to happen on a 10 times zoom lens for a full frame camera. So that's not a major concern. But what is a major concern, and what will stop me, is that complete lack of any weather sealing. I just think with this, at the better part of £1,000 could have done with weather sealing. And in fact, had this been priced maybe £400 more at 1,300 quid with weather sealing, with some rubber gaskets, I would have bought it. I would have paid the extra money, but at 900 quid without weather sealing, it's not for me. And also I should add, it doesn't come with a lens hood, which you're definitely gonna need. So who is it aimed at? Well, I think if you are a travel photographer or just a general everyday shooter who wants to go out and capture some stuff and pretty fair weather, you're not putting it through any rugged terrain, you could do worse than spend $1,000 on this. We've got an 85mm f2 macro review coming up pretty soon on the channel, along with a whole host of other things. Thanks very much for joining me. I've been Dave, and this has been Let's Click Photography. And from me, for now, ciao.